Chapter 96. Daji is captured. King Wu was a virtuous man. He did not understand military commands such as charge at the beating of drums and retreat at the striking of gongs. He could only see that all the generals, nobles, and even soldiers rushed in to fight when they heard the drums. The tyrant was completely encircled by lances, cutlasses, swords, halberds, staves, hammers, scythes, hooks, and axes. An insult to His Majesty is humiliation for his subjects. It's the right time now to sacrifice our lives for the nation. We can't let these rebels go on so recklessly. Lu Ringji said to Lei Kun and Lei Peng, "You're right, brother. We should fight until we drop for our deceased rulers." Lei Kun replied. Lu Ringji, Lei Kun, and Lei Peng broke into the circle to help King Zhou. Though the tyrant was surrounded, he still fought on fearlessly. Suddenly, with a powerful sweep of his right arm, he slashed the South Grand Duke in two. At his side, Lu Ringji stabbed Ling Shan in the breast. Nija was greatly annoyed by the scene and shouted, "Calm down there. I'm coming." Thunderbolt, Yang Jian, Wei Hu, Jingjia, and Mu Jia also set up a great clamor. "The nobles are fighting so gallantly. How can we just watch?" They roared. They all quickly ran forward to join the combat. Yang Jian chopped Lei Kun to death with his cutlass, Nija knocked Lu Ringji to the ground with his universal ring, and Thunderbolt struck Lei Peng to death with his cudgel. Jiang Wenhuan saw how well the other generals were fighting. He put his cutlass on the saddle, took out his staff, and struck King Zhou with all his might. The tyrant was hit heavily on the back and nearly fell from his horse. He ran back inside the palace, and though the nobles chased after him, he managed to get in safely, with the gate closed tightly behind him. Jiang Ziya ordered his army to withdraw. He called the roll and found that, though they had won the battle, they'd lost 26 officers of different ranks. Jiang Wenhuan and the other nobles deeply mourned the death of the South Grand Duke, but King Wu said, "The fight today destroyed the relationship between the king and his ministers. Jiang Wenhuan has wounded His Majesty. That causes me unbearable pain. No, Your Highness. King Zhou is hated by heaven and the people. Even execution is not punishment enough. You should not pity him, Your Highness." Jiang Wenhuan stated emphatically. King Zhou ran through the palace gate and went to rest in the 9-chamber court. He lowered his head in silence. "I do regret that I didn't listen to my loyal ministers. What a humiliation. And what a pity that Lu Ringji, Lei Kun, and Lei Peng all lost their lives in today's combat," he said with a sigh. Fei Lian and Alai approached the king and flattered him. "You fought heroically today. You were completely surrounded yet managed to chop several rebelling nobles to death. You must rest for a few days until your wound is healed and then take them on again. Victory is certain, as the old proverbs say, heaven helps the good man, and victory and defeat are common in war. Don't worry too much, Your Majesty. All the loyal and talented ministers are gone. We've only a few officials left, and I'm severely wounded. How can I fight them again? How can I maintain my dignity?" King Zhou turned his back on them in disappointment. He took off his armor and went into the inner chambers to rest. "A great army is at the palace gate, and there's no way we can fight them off. We will die sooner or later. What can we do? Once they enter the palace, our personal property will be lost. What a pity." Fei Lian said to Eli. "How can you be so pessimistic, brother? A hero must be ready to deal with any situation. It's obvious that King Zhou will be defeated at any time. Why don't we surrender so we can keep what we already have? Besides, King Wu is kind and Jiang Ziya is gallant. They must expect us to join them. What do you think?" Alai proposed. Fei Lian replied with a smile. "You are so clever, brother. But I have another idea. When the enemy troops break into the palace, Let's go into the inner court and take the national seal. When King Wu enters the inner court as the new king, we can present the seal to him. He'll then think we are loyal to the new dynasty and grant us high posts. This way we can kill two birds with one stone. They plodded on enthusiastically, filling the room with devious laughter. All future generations will regard us as wise men with a good understanding of the proverb. A smart bird knows how to choose a tree to perch on, and a good minister knows how to select the right master to serve. A lie concluded with a snicker. Entering the inner chamber, King Zhou was met by Daji, Hu Shimei, and concubine Wang. He wept bitterly before them. I ignored Jifa and Jiang Ziya, and never took any precaution against them. How could I have imagined they would unite all the dukes to attack us? Even though I hacked some of their generals to death, I was hit seriously by Jiang Wenhuan on the back. Lu Rinji, Lei Kun, and Lei Peng have all lost their lives. The palace will be taken any time now. The Shang dynasty has lasted for 28 generations. How can I face my ancestors after I die? How can I bear to be separated from you three? What shall we do? If King Wu breaks into the inner palace, I must kill myself first. I could not stand to be their captive. Perhaps I should run away, but you would all be taken by Jifa and our love would be destroyed. What a tragedy. I feel as if my heart has been broken. King Zhou cried to Daji, tears streaking down his face. The three sprite women knelt down, wept, and said, "We can never forget your deep love. How can you give us up? Where will you go?" Daji put her head in King Zhou's lap, her face covered with falling tears. She held him fast and would not let him leave. King Zhou could do nothing, so he ordered his attendants to lay the table for a farewell feast with his three beautiful women. The king downed a cup and then wrote a poem for Daji to sing as then prank on. Much pleasure had we on this happy terrace. But unexpectedly comes the bloody army. The love of the Phoenix couple gone forever. A reunion never to come again. Our heroes have all been turned to ashes. While good scholars now enjoy their best day. This cup of separation helps me to forget. Sobering, the world is new in every aspect. King Zhou drank several more cups but finally sighed and said, "I can't drink another. The wine only sticks to my throat. Don't feel so sad, Your Majesty. I was born into a general's family and learned how to fight with a cutlass as a child. Besides, both Hu Shimei and concubine Wang know some magic and are familiar with military strategies. Your Majesty, let us fight for you tonight." Daji said comfortingly. "It would be wonderful if you could defeat those rebels. I can set my heart at ease then." King Zhou said happily. After offering him several more cups, Daji, Hu Shimei, and concubine Wang donned armor in preparation for their surprise night raid. The king was really delighted to see his favorite ladies so smartly dressed up. Jiang Ziya had already predicted the date of King Zhou's complete downfall, and never imagined that the three sprites would try to attack his camp at night. Suddenly, at the second watch, a strong wind whipped through the camp, sending stones flying. Daji, Hu Shimei, and concubine Wang rode horses on their sprite wind towards the Zhou camp. Daji held double cutlasses, Hu Shimei 2 swords, and concubine Wang a large slender knife forged with a phoenix on each side. The Zhou soldiers were sleeping soundly in their tents, and the patrolmen and guards were so surprised that the camp barricades were nearly all broken through. The generals rushed in to report to Jiang Ziya. When he saw the sprite aura outside, he immediately ordered the disciples to go into action. Nejia got on his wind-fire wheels with his fire-tip lance, Yang Jin galloped out with his 3-pointed cutlass, Thunderbolt flew out with his gold cudgel, Wei Hu carried his monster-subduing club, Li Jing his ridged halberd, and Jingjia and Mujia each wielded 2 swords. Nejia led the pack, and in a second, all 7 highly talented disciples surrounded the 3 sprites. At the very same moment, Jiang Ziya was sitting in his tent reciting charms. Thunder crashed in the air above the sprites and lightning exploded around them. When they realized their enemy's tremendous power, the sprites knew they had absolutely no chance of victory. To linger on would mean death, so they turned their horses and ran away with a whirl of sprite wind. They had left the palace at the second watch and returned at the fourth. King Zhou was waiting patiently just inside the palace gates, expecting his ladies to return in great victory. When he saw them come back in such an awful condition, he asked, "What happened in the raid, my sweets?" Jiang Ziya was well prepared. "We were surrounded by his disciples and nearly killed. We came back because we were afraid we would not be able to see you again," Daji replied. Disappointed, King Zhou lowered his head in silence. He went into the court and wept. "I now know that the grace of heaven will never return to my side. It's hopeless to keep on trying. Let's go our own separate ways, lest we all suffer together in the coming doomsday." King Zhou stated resolutely, and with a flick of his sleeves, went directly to the star-picking mansion. The three sprites had no chance of stopping him. Daji turned to Hu Shimei and concubine Wang. "King Zhou must mean to commit suicide. Where can we go then, as we have already ruined this dynasty?" She asked them. "It seems we can delude only King Zhou with sexual pleasure. No one else is likely to fall into our trap. Why don't we return to our old nest, the cave at Emperor Shenyang's grave? It was our home before, and we can stay there for the time being." Hu Shimei, the pheasant sprite with 9 heads, suggested. The others agreed, and the 3 sprites planned their immediate return to the old nest. After the night raid, Jiang Ziya called a military conference to discuss the situation. "We were attacked by the 3 sprites, and though it was a complete surprise, we were not defeated. The disciples are strong enough to deal with them. But we must get rid of them as soon as possible to ward off further trouble," Jiang Ziya explained. Jiang then ordered his men to lay the incense burner on the desk. He burnt incense and offered prayers to predict what would happen next. He was greatly astonished to see how the gold coins landed. "We must move quickly. The sprites are preparing to run away," Jiang Ziya cried. Jiang then wrote instructions on 3 sheets of paper and sent Yang Jian after the pheasant sprite, Thunderbolt after the fox sprite, and Wei Hu after the jade lute sprite. The 3 disciples decided to wait high in the air above the palace gate for the sprites to come out. After devouring several palace maids, Daji, Hu Shimei, and concubine Wang got up to leave. With a rush of wind, they flew into the air and headed back to their old nest. Yang Jian heard the wind and yelled, "Attention! Here come the sprites. Don't run away, you 3. When she saw Yang Jian chasing after them with his sword, the pheasant sprite lifted her own and swore, "We've done our best to ruin the Shang dynasty, and you've achieved great merit as a result. How can you be so ungrateful to us?" Seething with rage, Yang Jian yelled, "Shut up, beast! By order of Jiang Ziya, we have come to arrest you. Don't go. Look, here's my sword." The pheasant sprite with 9 heads held up her sword to meet Yang Jian, and Thunderbolt raised his yellow gold cudgel against the fox sprite with 9 tails Daji. Wei Hu waved his club and was met by the jade lute sprite's slender knife. After only 3 or 4 rounds, the 3 sprites gave up ground and fled on beams of sprite light. Yang Jian, Thunderbolt, and Wei Hu chased close behind. Chasing after the pheasant sprite, Yang Jian released his sky-barking hound, which bared its fangs and bit off one of the pheasant heads. Ignoring the pain and the blood, the pheasant sprite picked up speed and ran for its life. Yang Jian followed. Thunderbolt was still after the fox sprite and Wei Hu the jade lute sprite when 2 flying pennants suddenly appeared in front of them, and a sweet fragrance filled in the air. Who had arrived? Please read the next chapter to find out.